So we're at 3:30. Thank you. Well, I think we should start now because we only have 30 minutes and there's some information that I would like to share. First of all, I want to thank you and like Judy said, Julie said, Jody gets the trophy for attending the trainings every week. I don't know if she attended all of them, but definitely the most of them. So yeah, so just a reminder, our presentation today will be recorded and will be archived in our website. And like you said, the presentation will go for about 30 minutes, and then if there's questions, we'll be answering them at the end. If you have a comment or a question, just raise your hand and we'll um, be responding them at the end. And what else? Any handouts or resources that we present during this will be posted in our chat. Okay, so today will be the last of, I believe, 10 or 9 sessions that we had weekly. And I'm fortunate to end up with a good, a good, how come it's not advancing? Okay, so what do I do? Okay, so a very interesting topic is called social interactions, and I believe this is a very important topic for that it for everyone right now during this situation that that is happening during the pandemic, and the things that we should look for and the things that we should um, uh, observe and see other families do it so we can learn from everyone and things that um, can help us cope with the situation. So I want to start with a quote that I think is really important that we have to keep in mind, and this is from the Good Book, and it says, "A good life is a human life. A human life is a social life. The essence of human nature is to be in the company of others. Companionship, fellowship, and connection to others are essential to our well-being." And I really believe that uh, is true because we need to have the sense of belonging, the sense of self, the sense that we are part of a group. We are a human being that need to be socializing in order to grow. So I believe that this quote, is really important to keep in mind. So let's see. Uh, I would like to talk about the social skills and social interactions. There, to me, are two things are different, and they go hand in hand, and they are the two most important factors for the health and development of everyone. The benefits will have a lifelong effect. So when we work on these skills, the benefits are big. We learned how to work together. We learn together. We learn to play with others, and I'm talking about typical development kids and kids with special needs too. So the benefits, like I said, is just the learning of just to work, to share. Communication also is part of this social interactions with other people. Like I said, the sense of self and that and learn to identify as an individual, to be part of a group, to have the sense of belonging, and also when like I said, when we talk about typical development kids, we learn through what is called incidental learning, that we see and we learn that way. We understand social cues, we understand body languages, and those things are impacted when there's kids with deaf blindness in this case, and I'll be talking more in a little bit. And we build relationships through these interactions. We learn to trust people in order to take risks. There's a lot of benefits when we have these social interactions that that this are the foundation of everything that we do. That during school, the academic learning, when we go to school and when we see other kids, um, eh, eh, modeling for us, for especially with kids with disabilities, with independent living skills, also are they benefit from that. The community experience says when we go out and have dates with with friends and we have as parents discussions or conversations with other parents, that community experience says when kids they go out and experience uh, many things outside. It's helpful relationships, when the kids they have their friends, their buddies, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners. So all these effects, they're not just one time deal. It's for a lifelong. And at the end, when the kids grow, employment also, they look at that, when they have that interaction or that social skills. So when I talk about this is like the basis for everyone. It's not just for a particular a group of people. It's just for everyone all over across the board. This is what the benefits are for when we have social skills and social interactions. But we have facts about the impact of social skills with people with uh, deaf blindness. We take for granted the impact of social development. When for kids that are typical developing, they learn through their vision. Their distance senses are not impaired or impacted. They see and they do it. But with kids with deaf blindness, they don't do that. They everything has to be brought to them, or they have to we have to really facilitate that interaction with other, because the incidental learning, like I said, is not there. They just cannot monitor the environment and see that what is going on or what everybody's doing with their body language, or that the environmental sounds that they don't know if there's a party or things that are happening. Is we have to facilitate that. We have to bring that information to them. And because the social skills that we learn through life, and the interactions that that are happening naturally for people without disabilities, um, uh, it's not there for our kids. It's not there for kids with that blindness. So that they just don't, that relationship, that trusted relationship with people that that are being social is not there. So we have, like I said, we have to facilitate that. And we have to and they learn through direct intervention. It's not that again, it's not like it happened automatically. We have to really bring the information to them. So there's some challenges, when the students with deaf blindness or the people working with them, the expectations are not there, for not equal actually for typically developing students. As we just think that things are gonna happen natural, and the expectations are there. Maybe we think that, or maybe people think that are not necessary for them at all, or if they are, not as much as kids without disabilities. And another challenge is realizing that the intervention to facilitate promote the interactions should be there. Again, and this is very repetitive. It's things, the social interaction doesn't happen automatically. We have to be intervening to facilitate that interaction, to be promoting it. And we have to realize that those impairments the vision, that distance senses, the visual and hearing, and as well as physical limitations are challenging for these kids. And for people that are working with them, or people that see the students with visually and hearing impairments, they don't know how to come to them. They don't know how to approach them. So those things they have to be facilitated or guided by someone that knows. And another challenge is this lifelong process. Is not just one-time deal. This working with students with deafness is a lifelong process. It's not just we teach one thing and it's going to be happening. No, this every day, every day. And now another big challenge that we're facing is the COVID-19 restrictions. When we think about it, is just the social distancing, and now that everything is going virtual, through a computer, how can we socialize with that, through that, and wearing masks. Now with the stay home orders that recently happened, and it's just been happening for many months. So those restrictions have more impact on the kids with deafness, because they already had this things to deal with, all these challenges, and now putting more challenges with that everybody's facing, but with for children with deafness is even more complicated. So I spoke with, when preparing for this presentation, I spoke with parents. I actually interviewed some of them, actually about 7 or 8. And, when I talked to them, they, everything that I heard was the same across the board. Everyone was saying that their kids were missing out on established routines, missing out going to school. Is just they're not looking at their at their friends, and they're not even when the bell ring to go to a different classroom, they just miss out that they just don't have the same routines that they're so used to have every day, when it's not there, or they're getting up in the morning and dressing up and looking pretty, because they're going to school. They getting out of the house. It's not happening. It's not happening for them. So it's the less opportunity to grow, to learn and grow. And they don't see the models of other kids, in the classroom. So it's all the parents were saying the same thing. Our kids are missing out. They feel isolated. They just they just don't want to even go out anymore. Sometimes for the kids that are very social, that they're really having a hard time coping with that. They get bored. They really get bored during the day. And another thing that I just wanted to say, one mom was, talked to her this morning, and she said, well, when my daughter is in class, now she doesn't have to dress up. She's in PJs. So just the fact that everything that she used to do when she went to school is not happening. I know she's receiving education through school, but just the fact of socialization is missing out, and we can see it. We can see it every day in her face that she is not happy with the situation. And it's really hard on me as a parent, seeing that. And not developing is not the ability to develop more friends. Is not even keeping the friends that are in school, because they're not getting together, and it's really complicated to do FaceTime sometimes. Another parent was telling me that limited services, it's not just receiving the services that they used to get in school, and the related services, or the services that were written on the IEP. They were complicated. Nursing for other students are not receiving, because they, the nurses were going to different houses, and with kids with disabilities, they're fragile. They're vulnerable to be exposed to anything that the nurses or the service, the care providers go to different houses or go to hospitals and work there. So it's not, those services are not being given to the students. Learning new ways of instruction, is just they now they have to be dealing with the fact that it's not just one screen. They have to multiple screens in order to have their the things that they need in order to receive that information. So it's hard. The physical ability is diminishing. So their muscle tone is really being affected because of the way that it's a lot of sedentary uh, of living right now, because they just cannot go out much, or they're not doing as much as movement as they were in school. So that's happening to them. The mental health, they get depressed, and a lot of behaviors also. This particular student is stemming more. So it's a lot of concerns that the parents have right now, and the way they have to be trying to minimize that impact on them is hard. So they have to come to with ideas on how to cope with that. And I another thing that I just came to my mind, but I it's going to come back. One of the concerns that the parents had also, that I didn't write in. So there's are some resources that I use, and it has a lot of information about strategies for families and caregivers, about integrating youth, child or youth with the blindness into groups, and Maurice wrote developing and maintaining community connections and friendships. And so there's some from California Deafblind Services. So if you want to take a look at this, they have really good information on social skills and social interactions. So I thought I can put this before I can go to my next slide. So so where I got the information, and where we can go in and get more information about it. So these are some strategies that that, like I said at the beginning, these are, when strategies were developed, or when I talked to parents months ago about strategies to promote interactions before COVID. This is before COVID. We came out with a list, and you can see in the resources also. There's many strategies, but it basically is the same. So the same before COVID. So one of them was include the child and family activities as much as possible. This is happening still, but now we have to adapt the activities. And in a minute, I'm going to show you some videos that I think they were great, because they, the families put their heads together and say, what can we do to, to keep our kids active, to keep our kids socializing with other friends or things. Oh, I just remembered, that came to my mind when I was talking to this mom this morning, and she said one of the things that that one of my concern is that my student or my kid is having more social interactions with adults instead of same age peers. So that's another huge concern of parents right now, that basically what this particular student is, all the the interaction that is happening is with adults and not same age peers. So another strategy is encourage siblings and other family members or neighbors to participate in facilitated interactions. So invite the friends. We usually said, just come and greet, that your brother or sister, and have your friends come and meet and greet him or her. Um, Provide frequent and ongoing social interaction opportunities and celebrate occasions. I always say, it's important to, to the person with deaf blindness to be part of a group, invite them to special occasions and play dates, have a good strategies how to promote play dates, have extracurricular activities. There's a lot of people going to dance or sports, baseball, and I repeat again, this is, all the strategies were before COVID, and and in a minute I'll go over the ones they're using right now during this pandemic. And another thing is work with the IEP team to include social skill goals and work on strategies and support to achieve them. I think this one can still apply right now because this is what is happening is going to be for some time. So I guess that's a good goal for our students to include in the IEP. And there's a quote that I kind of I kind of wrote, having getting information from here and there, and it says we can take social interactions for granted or assume it will naturally occur without support. It requires direct intervention and social instruction. It requires teamwork. And I believe, looking at this, talking to parents, I think this is true. So like I said, in reviewing this, parents, in writing down what they told me, and um, eh, I came up with this list of adaptive strategies of social interaction during COVID. What they have done, and like I said, these are parents that have kids, from different ages. We go from really young kids to adults, and they have, they start doing weekly family nights. They have movie nights, they have gay night, they have pizza days. So they were creative and try to integrate the brother or sister with deaf blindness into a family night. And I thought that was awesome. Outside play dates, there's a family that she what she did is she planned a play day with a friend, and they went to this park, and they took home from food from home, and they were respecting all the health protocols. They were wearing masks. They even brought soap and water to wash their hands after they finished playing, and they rode their bikes. And it's only one or two families that respect, they're on the same page. They respect the health protocol. So that ways they are sure that they're in the same, like I said, in the same page, and they're doing whatever it takes to have their kids be safe. Gym at home, that's another one that they're doing. They try to be active and move around, watching YouTube videos, doing yoga and doing other exercises. So I think that's awesome, that they're creative. Drive-by celebrations, the birthday parties, that what is called the birthday drive-through or drive-by, when they have these banners and balloons and stuff. So I that started maybe sometime ago, but I think it's happening more, and our kids are having fun with those. Drive-by tours, I don't know if you heard of those. They have the zoo, and they have the Christmas lights. I spoke with this parent, and what they do is once or twice every week they go outside to their neighbor, in their car, the Christmas lights, and wave the people, the people that are outside. And it's a way of socializing with other people. Some of the neighbors, I know, they already know that a particular family. They come and and go once or twice a week, and their son really enjoys that. They have virtual social gatherings, like I said, virtual celebrations, craft party. I think that's an amazing one. I was part of one once, and is really, really creative. Uh, they draw, at the end, everybody shows, the things that they do. They have a sing-along virtual gatherings too, or karaoke. So they're, the parents are being really, 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 um, uh, they put their hands together and be very, really creative on, the things that the adaptive strategies to, in order to have their kids being part and not miss too much of what they get in school, or they get with, being with their friends. And for parents, I just don't want to forget about the parents. Us parents also are struggling, are, having hard time socializing. So social media is an excellent way of doing that. We have virtual gatherings, video chat rooms, game nights with friends, tea time, happy hour, you name it. We try to get as much as, time together with friends as, time permits, because now with all this virtual learning, families spend a lot of time, educating their kids. So I think this is an excellent way of, sharing information with parents, that other parents are, are doing with their kids. Okay, so what happened? I don't know what happened. Okay. I think I stopped sharing. Did I? No?
No, Myrna, now you stopped sharing.
Oh, no, you did, yeah.
So I don't know what happened. Let me go back. Okay, so this is, okay, what happened? Okay. It's not picking up. Okay.
Did you want?
Okay, so these are some examples I was telling you about. Can you see that? Let me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so these are the examples of the families. You probably, the California team recognized, the students. And this is the picnic, they were doing. They brought food from home, and they were wearing masks, and having all this fun. And it's only one friend that they shared the play date. The birthday celebration, it was just like drive by. The Christmas lights, and the social gatherings, that I really love this one, the Grace chit chat time. So I think there's many things that we can do. There's a lot of things that our kids can enjoy doing. Also, I would like to share another one that and Brian, you can play this video. This is a family. I'm going to tell you a little bit. This is a family that started doing once a week a play night, and a game night with the family. And I asked her, can you please videotape one of your nights, because they would like to be together at least once a week. And I think this is an awesome way to integrate and their son and sibling to the family and this social interaction. So go ahead, Brian, if you.
Okay.
So, Tyler, everyone is gonna take a turn pulling one piece out.
You have to be really careful.
Tyler, hey, look, you do not want this to fall. Okay? You do not want it to fall. All right, so Tyler, I'm gonna start, and it's gonna go to Hamish, and then Dad, and Will, and then you. Okay? Did you pay attention? Yes or Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So okay.
Okay.
Tyler.
Tyler, you do
everyone
it. You
is
pick
gonna
which
take
one.
a turn Tyler, pulling one very, very carefully.
You have to be
okay?
really
But Tyler-
careful.
Tyler, hey, look. You do
Okay,
not
Tyler, you
want
get it. You
This
get it.
to fall. Okay? You do not want it to fall. Very carefully pull it up. So Tyler, I'm gonna start
Yeah.
with Hamish, Dad, and Will.
Good job, Tyler.
Okay. Maybe you want to pick that one slow.
No.
This one. This one.
Let him.
Oh.
Oh. Hey.
Wow.
Put the Tyler pad down. Put it down, Tyler.
Tyler, what did you think?
Happy?
Oh.
Good. Tyler, do you want to play again? Or do you want to play Kerplunk? Kerplunk?
That one,
Okay.
Great, thank you, Brian. I think I'm over a minute, but I would like to share this other video. Let me see if I can find it. Of course. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Sorry, there's another one that it's, oh, okay, so I'll play this one. Can you see that one?
Yes,
Yes,
you can.
Myrna.
Okay.
Cha-cha-cha, Mary. Love you. Have a great day. Cha-cha-cha, Mary.
I think this is a great way.
Have a great day.
Okay, of course, I have to do this and then.
Cha-cha-cha, Mary.
Okay. Oh,
Love you.
stop.
Myrna, we don't have any questions in the chat box. If you want to just show the other I Will Survive video.
Okay, let me look for it. Let's see if it's this one. Nope, it's this one. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I think that's it. Sorry, guys. And I probably it's not. Oh yeah.
Go, Skylar, go. Skylar. What do you think, huh?
So you probably ask, why am I sharing this? It's because in the group home about, from this, that this student belongs, they did a challenge. So they had to do something with, the mom and the daughter or the mom and the son and share it. So that's probably they were doing. And I think it's an excellent way of keeping the daughter integrated into a group. And I think to me it's a really, really cool thing to do. And I'm gonna just finish my presentation with this. I'm gonna leave you with this is, let's find ways to keep socializing. So I think this is a great way of, that nothing is impossible. and we can all, put our heads together and adapt to, the social interactions that our kids benefit. So if you guys go ahead and turn on your cameras if you want to. I'm going to stop sharing.
And Myrna, if I'm not mistaken, that Santa Claus knew a little bit of sign language too, I think.
Yes,
And he
yes,
used it when he met that little boy, yeah.
yes, exactly.
Or a young man, I should say. He's not a little boy.
Yeah, yeah, and the mom was telling Santa what to say. So
Yeah.
and like I said, this is a nice way to adopt ways of keep socializing and not, it facilitates and guided socializing and social interactions. Yeah, so if you guys have any comments, questions, we're here to answer them. Or what do you think? That's probably the first question to ask.